I am Grantham Taylor Hughes. Sometimes they call me a doctor because I have a PhD. I also have a JD and I have a LMCD. And I also have CCC after my name, which makes me, hey, you know what that is, Tony. It's a
I do.
consummate comedian. Oh, there we go. A
That's my
CCC.
favourite one.
That's my favorite one, too. And so we've been talking about, in pre-talk, we've been talking about a lot of things, but when we get live, now we just forget everything, right? That's the nature of that, right? What's your lines? You're supposed to memorize your lines and hit the mark. That makes you an actor. Otherwise, if you can't memorize, you can't hit your mark. Okay, I'm leaving. See ya. Just kidding. I have to start in right away with that, don't I? That's
Yes.
my most fun thing to do. POTIKA is very important work. We were talking about the paradoxes of POTIKA. PP, paradox is what it is. In reference to when we get to POTIKA, we're in, well, we say supposedly because none of us have gotten there, but it's very important work. On Sunday on a conference call, we were talking about blind people, right? But we're not seeing exoterically correctly. We're all blind people because we're caught in this one portal. And we're really in an array of 144 portals. So isn't that ridiculous that we're all blind? And they say blind people can't see it in this portal, but good for them because we're all in the wrong portal anyway, or we're not supposed to be in one portal. See, when you find yourself in trouble and you don't know how to answer anything, you can always wax a saker. See, that's easy to do because it's a cop-out, too, because you default to your native language when you don't know how to do the logic patterns, and you become really stupid. Oh, sorry.
We were watching a video of yourself and Lena, and what I found interesting about Potika and the child is you talked about bonding, how we bond.
Well, that's a karma thing. You come into this life, and whatever the mother is, they start in with their conditioning and get you into this portal. They have
Hmm.
you arrive in the portal when you're out there, probably in Potica. See, but we don't know because the children are speaking what? They're doing this. We're not really getting that in auxiliary logic patterns. See, so everybody is conditioned to their auxiliary country logic. I hope everybody understands what that means. It's a secondary language, and your native language is a sacred.
When you're an
Yeah.
infant, because you're in this arena of knowingness, and practically speaking, you have a choice because you can see two worlds, because you're not quite yet habituated to proper convergence.
We don't know what the baby's doing. I mean, we know in our own world, right? We know what we think and what we do. But when a child comes into this world, because they've had many, many incarnations of being someone else, we don't know where they are in terms of their frame of reference. We speculate, like psychology and psychiatry, they speculate about things, but they don't know anything, and it's a judgment call about their own behavior. The only thing they know is their own individual self. So how can you know somebody else if they're completely and totally different and unique? You just don't know. See, and that's what makes the uncertainty principles that scientists had gotten to many times over. And Thomas Bayes, who I was in a past life, had Bayesian theories and uncertainty. See, and so where does that get you? No place. You can't teach that to children. The parents can't say, we don't know what we're doing. I mean, that's ridiculous. You can't tell children we have no idea what we're doing because you know what you're doing in this particular portal. You're in a portal, but you don't know you're stuck in one singular portal, and you should be in an array of 144 portals. I mean, it's even hard to get to that in terms of discussion because we're traumatized over the conditioning anyway. And that's why people have a lot of negativity in their life. Boy, I'm on automatic, I'll tell you that right now, because you were always wondering what the subject is. Well, I'm on automatic control today. I'm being run by my inner self because I don't know what I'm saying at all. And nobody else does either. Oh, that's good. But anyway, so this deal about conditioning is a major problem, and it's a constant controversial subject in reference to what are we being conditioned to. So we're the only ones that really address the POTIKA Nobody else is talking about, because we don't really know it completely because we haven't experienced it now, but we can comprehend what's going on because, as I said before, the two gentlemen in the past had actually experienced the convergence motion that I picked up on in an explanation. They asked me about it, and then because we had these conversations, they realized that I would be open to comprehending what they were doing, but they didn't really understand themselves. So that's my métier, really, is to explain things cogently because of who I am. When you're a self-realized person, you have a cogency to be able to make proper conclusions, and people get excited about it, but then where's he going? Well, I'm going to the vector of no man's land. Well, let's go out there and follow Grantham out in this vector, and where is he going? Well, he may circle back someday. He may come back to this particular portal. Okay, so we are conscious, but we can't do judgment calls because we only have our own knowingness, right? As you're saying, you know things, but then you need to articulate what you know, and that's why we're here. We have a discussion and talk about controversial aspects that probably nobody else talks about. So where are we wandering around in? Well, again, we're stuck in this portal, and it's a vital practice to get to POTIKA. So we've been talking a lot about that on our calls. And how do you get to POTIKA? Well, we're using the map of the Sri Yantra, okay? And that's like a GPS of getting to POTIKA. But then again, the main practice would be to separate the world you're in right now, wherever you are, anybody that's listening or reviewing this video, I'm in the portal. You can see me, right? So that would be called a portal. But if you saw two frames of the same picture, then supposedly what happens with that, it telescopes into an array of 144 portals, 72 on the parallel, 72 on the vertical, and then it gyroscopes. It spins around in different directions. So you see everything's in motion, and those 144 portals are in motion within our POTIKA that we're in. And then we said early on the paradox of when you get there, what's the point of getting into a portal? Because you're just going to be stuck. Like we're stuck right now. We're blind people. We don't see POTIKA, right? And why don't we see POTIKA? Well, I don't know. We haven't done it in a long time. Maybe, well, I hate to say it, but it's probably 5 million years since the last time we did this. That's a guess on my part because I don't know in reference to the last time we were able to get to POTIKA, but it may have been that long. And that's scary to people, see, because that means we've been locked into this portal for a long time, but not eternally. See, remember we were talking yesterday about people think they're God. Neville Goddard wasn't helpful with that by saying your imagination is God. So that means, well, if my imagination is God, that means God on this side equals God on that side. So that's the answer to the equation, that you are God. But then the joke is, if you're the one true God, we're in trouble. See, that means you only exist and there's nobody else there. See, it's very vital to get to POTIKA because we're blind. We're seeing incorrectly. And people don't get that. So what do you mean I'm blind? I said, well, you're here. I see you. You see me. Are you separating these two to get into an array of 144 portals? And they say, no. I said, well, then you're blind. I mean, you got to appreciate that whole thing, that people are blind and they don't know it. I mean, talk about being unconscious. It's absolutely ridiculous. And people say, well, what you're saying today is ridiculous. Well, it might be, but do you have anything better? You know, it's like the technology and relastatics and stuff. Look at what we have, the electric car. What a joke that is. There's a bomb waiting to happen. The Teslas are blowing up everywhere. Get away from that Tesla. It might explode. Boom! Oh, what happened? Well, it just exploded. That's what's going on. I mean, the electric car is a huge mess in reference to implosion on the paradigm of the world. Is a big joke. I mean, it's another absurdity. You got to plug it into the wire technology. You see how it is? The wires have been around for a long time, and you go outside and you see all these ugly telephone poles, and they're all hooked up to wires, and you have the continents hooked up to the transatlantic cable. I guess they put down a fiber optic one too. I'm not sure that they probably did. But you see, all the sciences are CERN-Switzerland collider. Don't get me started on that whole thing. Colliders. What do you see in a collider? You see electric pulse. You know, when you see lightning outside, the lightning's all jagged in the sky. Well, what they do is let's make it a single line, a electric line, and we'll send it down a wire. Oh, there you go. That will straighten out the electric. No, it won't, because electricity goes in a spiral. You know, electricity is going into a spiral into no man's land. And they think that they put an insulator around it on a wire, they're going to send the electricity. See, these people don't even talk about this stuff. I'm the only one that really pays any attention to any of it, because we're just playing video games and we're gambling a lot. Don't bother us, we're making money. We'll give you electronic money all day long. Here's billions and billions of coins, electricity. They're not losing anything, they're just making electric money. Cryptocurrency. And by the way, don't buy crypto, folks, because if it glitches, it's gone. They don't use paper. They're really proud of that, not using hard copy contracts behind anything. They're very proud of that. I'm thinking, do you people realize what you're saying? We don't have hard copy. It's all electronic. Yes, and it's by when there's a short circuit. Bye-bye. All my funds are gone. Beep, sorry. You got to appreciate. Oh, my goodness. And the last 22 noble gases on the periodic table of chemistry, they spent billions of dollars at less than a zeptosecond. Is that 22 gases? And they're a blip on the microscope. They just blip and they're gone, right? We saw it. We did see it. I can put my name on it. It's the Grantham particle. We'll call it the Grantham particle. Yes, I created a particle today, the Grantham particle. Well, what does it look like? Well, we're not sure because it only lasted a zeptosecond. I love doing reference stuff in terms of numbers. I like to count because I'm an idiot savant. I go by brick walls and go, there's 2,468 bricks in that wall. How do you know? Because I counted them yesterday. It only took me 1 day to count them? Yes, it only took me 1 day, 24 hours, 2,678. Is that what I said before? You can check this recording to see if he got it right the second time. That's how we can tell if he knows what he's talking about. Does Grantham know anything? No, absolutely not, because he has this. And he takes a breath. Start over. You got to appreciate how absolutely absurd logic reasoning is at the same time. But I'm pretty good at making connections and proper conclusions. So that's what we're trying to do. The subject is proper conclusions by Grantham Taylor Hughes. That's the subject today. So the demons work overtime when it comes to our work. And we know that POTIKA is very important because we're not seeing correctly. Okay, what are the three ruinations? Our language is taken away from us, and ultimately our life, because we only are supposed to last 100 years and we're out of here. So we talk about mortality, proper mortality. In the portal we're in right now, there's three ruinations, and we're the only ones that address that, see? So anybody listening to this video, you got to appreciate, don't go anywhere else. Listen to what we have to say, because nobody else knows what they're talking about except for us. Triumphant. We have Grantham, Tony, and Vicky is the big triangulation in the world. I am rich. There you go. The three major words, and that's the law of assumption. Neville can appreciate that, even though I was disparaging him earlier. I apologize you, Uncle Neville.
I was thinking, Grantham, about
Yes, sir.
About being stuck in one portal and about how much repetition there seems to be in worlds. I imagine we're not creating anything new, we're just recycling old inventions.
Yes,
That's
correct.
what it seems like, yeah.
Yes, we're just wasting a lot of time in the portal. It's a big, gigantic waste that they do outside of our individual self, which is in the center, but we don't see the center. See, we're not seeing it. We're seeing this portal and all the stuff they do in the portal. So you got to appreciate the incredible mess it is in reference to the singular portal of what's going on, and they think it's reality, and you're going, wow, it's just totally wrong. It really is, and that's why people are so upset, because they don't know how to articulate the fact that they're blind. What's the point of going into a portal if we're in the 144 ray? But see, my opinion is that POTIKA is the Garden of Eden. Once you get into that center, then there's grand beauty all around you. You see what I mean? And you don't have to go anywhere. You're in the center. See, relastatics would be the highest level of technology in a portal. But you see, we're still in a portal.
Yes.
But the most advanced thing would be utilizing the static electricity into kinetic power. In other words, your air now is converted to motion. That's what relastatics really is, that we're declaring that everything's in motion, and we're actually able to harness, that's it, static electricity to be able to utilize it in kinetic power. That means you make a vehicle. So we have the Omnivergence Institute toy that is actually exploring the fact of using a relostatic vehicle. If you look at the things that have these flying machines, rotors on it, and have spinning motors and everything, it's so ridiculous, Tony. When I see supposedly advanced planes are off the ground, they still have rotors on the front, like propellers. And what is a jet? A jet has a fan inside of it. They have a propeller on the front of the plane, and then they make it smaller and put it in a housing and make electric fuel. So all it is still a propeller. We go back to the ancient propeller that they have and spinning. All it is trying to explain what everything around us is spinning all the time.
Going back to that video with Lena, you were talking about when you were in Silicon Valley, how the ideas came when you were in Silicon Valley, and it got stopped by the petrodollar.
The resonance circuit was very important. They were trying to find an insulator. Gallium arsenide was years ago. They've probably gone beyond gallium arsenide. It comes from the spinning of electricity down a rubber wire, which is plus or minus 10%. So that means when the alternating current is spinning down the wire, it diffuses out from the insulator. But gallium arsenide was very dense. But they were never able to get to the resonance circuit because I'm the resonance circuit. Uh-oh, we're in trouble now. Because each individual is a resonance circuit. They're trying to duplicate the human being. They can't do it. See, and they don't realize that's the source of the whole thing. The resonance circuit or direct current is each individual. And direct current is not big enough. Remember the joke about Edison and Tesla back in 1903? Nikola went to Edison's laboratory, and he went in because he called him on the phone and said, Nikola, I need to talk to you. He said, okay, come on over. And Tesla was a man of not many words. He was a scientist working on his stuff all the time. So Tesla goes into his laboratory, and he sees all this electricity going really wild and stuff between these two terminals. Okay, it looked like when you see lightning in the air, it was all jagged electricity between these two terminals, right? So what Tesla did was he had these big magnets he was holding, and they're real heavy, and he threw one to Edison. Okay, catch this. So Edison caught one of the magnets, right? And so this jagged electric current between the terminals all over the place, they put these magnets on each side, and what they did was they were drawing the magnets to straighten out the electricity down the wire. The magnets were spinning it and straightened it out. See, so he was creating the first armature was a physical body, somebody holding a magnet. So when they lined it up, and Tesla leans over the side of the magnet, goes, do you get it now? And he drops the magnet and runs out. But when he dropped the magnet, the electricity from one of the terminals breaks free and blows a big hole in the wall, like that. And Edison left, see? So that actually happened in an armature factory in France years ago. I remember I was telling you about this armature factory was about 200,000 square feet. It was a really big place, and the ceiling was about 80 feet high, right? So I took this engineer, and we're walking around, we're looking at the floor at this armature factory. He said they had these really big armatures, and the footprints were maybe 10 feet by 20 foot legs that had bolts bolted into the ground. He was showing me these big footprints, and in the ceiling, they had these big holes that went outward, these big holes showing explosions, right? He said there was an armature that was about 60 feet in diameter that actually exploded and probably killed 500 people. It was never talked about, see? So this was in, I think it was the 60s, they were making these armature factories all over the world, these huge armor, but people were being killed everywhere. So they stopped doing that, and that's when they got into microprocessing. They started getting into microprocessing. So nobody has this information except me. When the armature is 60 feet in diameter, that's a big armature, but when it was going real fast, it exploded, it just blew up. So that's when they reverted back to, well, maybe we can make it microscopic. So get millions of dollars to do experiments. But we didn't make any mistakes. Nobody died in this. Yes, people were killed in these explosions. Listen, that armature factory had holes on the sides, like 10-foot holes. They were blowing off the side of the building. And the engineer concluded that there was a huge explosion in this building because you could see it. The evidence was right there. You walk up these big holes in the side of the building and look in the ceiling and see this big, huge chart out to the ceiling upward. Do you think people lived through that? I don't think so.
Do you think it's a problem with the government giving these grants that they put too many limitations on it and they're rushing things into market because they want to make the money? Do you think there's too much rushing about?
See, the time is always the culprit. You have to adhere to a government charter. In order to get a grant, you have to fulfill this charter. So they're stuck in a charter group. So we discovered at that time that we needed to do open charters that needed not be set. You fulfill the charter criteria, but then if you go off into a vector into something else, you can record that and make it a value as an adjunct, addendum to the charter. They don't do that. See, we created open charters, but this is, 30 years ago when we discovered all this. But it's that way all over the place, see. But they get millions of dollars and sometimes billions of dollars to do all this stuff, and they're expected to fulfill the charter work, see. But it's very limited. They are in time and space because they make things to sell things. The government's the same way. They buy things from manufacturers all over the place and then assemble them. That's what the Silicon Valley was all about back in the day. They were making war toys. The whole thing was weaponry making. A Sherlock Holmes movie with Basil Rathbone called Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon. They had this Tobel bomb sight in the movie. I think there was 5 scientists that were making a separate part of the bomb sight. Each made a part, and when you assembled it, it made the bomb sight. But each one of them didn't know what the entire assembly was made. And the scientist, Dr. Tobel, was the one that assembled all 5 parts once he got each individual part. But that was an example of what Silicon Valley was doing. Everybody was making these different parts to these weapons, and the government would assemble them and make them. See, but it was a big business, a huge business. War is a big business. Economic demolition is huge business. That's why Kennedy went away, because he was stopping all that war business, because it's big time money. You're talking about trillions of dollars, and he's going to bend that and said, "Wave bye and Dealey Plaza, see ya, so long." Boom, and they nailed him because he was stopping economic demolition. And so all this is tied up in the fact that there's not any advancement in the portal. And if you try to make advancement, you're going to go no place unless you're creating a profit right now, because we're in a monetary system. I got that in one breath, too. That was pretty good. Thank you very much. All in one breath. You didn't take a breath for 5 minutes.
Silicon Valley is continuing in Mexico. Yes, they changed the locations and they are there and they are doing some experiments. Are they proceeding with any experiments to advance?
Well, see, there's no advancement in that unless they're talking to me. I have the only advanced science because I have relastatics, but they don't comprehend capacitance technology. Back to the Future, flux capacitor, but they were using fuel. They were putting junk in there. Everything turned into the nuclear power, essentially, is what they were using. But we have a flux capacitor that is fuelless. There's no fuel. It goes back to what Tesla was doing, wireless technology. That's a possibility, but they don't comprehend that right now. The infrastructure has no idea about the fuelless flux capacitor, FFC.
Will you be able to get any government grants to support this?
Me? Forget it. They don't want that. It's putting a dent into the economy. I'm going to put a lot of people out of business, that's for sure. In reference to that, that's why I haven't been able to get anywhere, because it's going to be a big economic upheaval. Because it can't help but do that, because when you're not doing the incremental status quo right now, if you make some inventory, you got to use up what's in the inventory before you can move on. So if you suddenly got rid of the inventory, they had an Osborne computer years ago, Adam Osborne. It was a computer they used in Vietnam. It looked like a sewing machine. You open up the front of it. That was the Osborne computer. A lot of people aren't aware of Osborne. I knew him personally. We were doing a lecture one time, and the problem was he was chairman of the board that was involved with the advancement in the technology of the business. He pre-announced their 10 megabyte hard drive when they were using floppy disk drive machines, and he put Osborne out of business in 30 days because they couldn't sell the floppy drives anymore because he was giving a lecture. When's a 10 megabyte hard drive coming? And it's coming very soon. And that was end of Osborne. So if you can't sell the inventory, you're going to put them out of business. So if you do advancement where you're making flying cars with fuelless flux capacitor, FFC, then you're going to put everybody out of business, you see. So somewhere it has to be able to harmonically incorporate into everything or be some element of economic upheaval, status quo. See, that's what we have right now. We have incremental status quo, ISQ, incremental status quo. And that's what's going on right now. They make changes in increments because you got to sell the previous inventory. You do an economic demolition and blow it up. Like in Iran, they blew up some warehouses that had to go because they couldn't sell the stuff in the warehouses. That's what we have right now is our ads. Because you can't get rid of it, you got to torch it. That's why the 2 buildings in New York, they torched those because they were filled up with MT-103s and they didn't want those out on the street, you see. So that's what goes on right now is ED, economic demolition. And it should happen because if you can't sell the stuff, you got to get rid of it. And that's the issue. The issue is time is a problem, time and inventory. I'm a real advanced economist. Pat McDonald, who mentored under Milton Friedman years ago, he said, boy, you're the best economist I've ever heard. I said, I really appreciate that. The exemption accounts is a really interesting topic, too, that each person is a billionaire and they don't know it, right? And you look at any refund check from the IRS, there's a number that goes up to 10 to the 10th. It goes up to a billion, okay? 10 to the 9th, okay? It goes up to a billion. And if you look at, there's a number at the very top, and the most I've ever seen is about 980 million, okay? So each year it'll go to a billion, and then they reinvest that money into a going concern in each person's name. It's called the exemption account. And you get a fee each year of $1 billion, but each individual is worth multi-trillions, which goes in, managed by the IRS. We're the Yantranauts. Thank you, Tony, for that term. And you got to appreciate the Yantranauts will get us there. We've got to get us a POTIKA. The ticker tape parade. We got the POTIKA finally. No, I haven't. The 6th phase. I'm pretty sure that the POTIKA is probably the 12th phase because Rose and Priest have gotten to the separation of the Yantra. I think that's the 12th phase. Oh, the POTIKA in the Golden Age? Probably when we get there, it would be there. I mean, because if you think about it, remember how we're looking at the double mirror thing? But when you guys ask questions, you just get me going, don't you? So if we do the double mirror, what's in the middle? With that pillar of light, see? And that pillar of light is us. I mean, isn't that cool? When you look into the mirror and see the windows open up, and you look to the center, which is to the right, and you see this beam of light behind the edges of the portals that are on the beam of light. And it looks like a white wall. But that's just us in the center of POTIKA. I mean, that's pretty exciting. God, I got chills when I just said that. Boy, that is really amazing. You know how when you get chills on the back of your neck? So when you do a double mirror, and that's revealing what's going on. Well, we're in an optical illusion, the silly portal that we're in. So which optical illusion are you going to use? POTIKA or the illusion that we're in, stuck in this one portal? At least a double mirror will show, on the left side, you'll see 18 doorways. It look like doors. If you use a round mirror, they'd be circular. That's why you call them portals. So you see 18 to the left, 18 to the right, 18 to the right backside, and 18 to your left backside, which makes 72 on the parallel. You don't have diagonals in a mirror. You'll have the top and bottom and right and left. And it's actually showing the 4 directions of POTIKA. 72 on the vertical and 72 on the parallel equals 144. So it's mathematically precise, divisible by 3. See, that's the important part of it, when it's the precision of the numbers being mathematically precise. And I would be precise about every single word I said. That's all, folks.
So we assume that the POTIKA is our dreamt of, long forgotten golden age.
It's exoteric, though, don't forget.
It's exoteric. It's exoteric. Okay. And because we also wanted to combine these advances and bringing us the freedom of movement in that sense. So
yes,
going into POTIKA, in and out of POTIKA, gives us a sense of independence and movement. And technology gives us that extra dimension of movement because we'll be traveling ever so fast.
Yes.
equaling the speed of light.
Correct.
And so,
Okay,
there
I'm
are
sorry.
lots of parameters going on here. So because people will be thinking, what is there for me? People always ask, do I have to be in the golden age? So we are kind of opening up to a new era, so to speak.
We can call it the Vicky Smith Show if you'd like. So we can do that. The Vicky Smith Show, starring Vicky Smith. That was very good. I appreciate that, Vicky. That was a really nice dissertation there, because that's true. What is it for me? What are people going to get out of this? Well, that's the whole point. We're trying to get to POTIKA, the pioneers, we're the Yantranauts, and once we get there, we'll have a methodology for everybody to do. It's like everybody's stuck in this portal right now. If we get to POTIKA, then they'll be in this Garden of Eden. And see, they don't know what the Garden of Eden is back in the day. In biblical scripture, they don't have a clue because they're really waxing POTIKA, you see. But the advancement we're talking about is the best paradigm of a portal. Okay. Well, I apologize for not getting any place today. I think we did a lot of good work today. I
Yes.
liked it a lot.
Yeah.